Whenever you're receiving feedback, okay, whenever you are in the position to where like you're wanting to grow or you just made a mistake or you're frustrated, it's really easy to like go vent and then just sit there and go, yeah. Or you go through a review, right? An employee review, or you go through whatever it may be. It's really easy to just sit there and go, I don't want to be here. I don't want to hear about this stuff. I don't want to learn anything. I have it all figured out. You're not going to grow that way. So whenever you're in a position to receive feedback, okay, whenever you ever have an opportunity to sit in front of someone and they are going to share you their thoughts, you can always learn something. I don't care how dumb the person is. I don't care what your opinion is of them. You can always learn something if you put yourself in a mindset to receive information and learn. So when we receive feedback, there's an opportunity for us to learn from someone else's lessons and skip the painful process of learning ourselves the hard way. Even if the person's completely wrong. If at least you sit down and you're listening to their feedback, and then they just say that something that's completely egotistical or something that's super crazy, you're going to learn something. But how you do it in the method by which you receive feedback is really, really important. I think there's a very simple way to receive feedback if you actually want to grow. If you don't want to grow, then I can show these slides as much as I want. It don't matter because you're not going to listen anyway because you've already figured it all out. Okay. Some of us out there that have figured it all out. I haven't. I'm never going to know until the day I die because things are constantly changing. They have a quantum computer that they just built for IBM that it would have taken 5 years ago. It would have taken 5 million supercomputers to do the computing power of this one computer. It's crazy. Technology is always getting smarter. You can always learn something new, but only if you're looking for it. The 3 ways to receive feedback. Number 1, when you're receiving feedback, be humble. You should do this also when you're giving it, by the way. But be humble. Put yourself in a sense of humility, like in a spirit of humility, okay? Put yourself in a position of, I want to receive feedback. I want to listen. I want to grow, okay? If you're in a position of someone giving you feedback, don't get defensive. If you start getting defensive, that's your ego flaring up, okay? If you start rejecting what they're saying, now I'll say this. I will say this, okay? There are some people that whenever, you know those people, I'm not telling you to listen or to adopt everything that everyone says. Like I have some friends that if I went to them whenever I was going through hardship over the last 2-3 years, and I was like, man, like I'm going through a really hard time. They'd be like, man, let's go out and get effed up. That is terrible advice. Now, what I could do in that situation is whenever they say that, go, oh, wow, that's what almost everybody else is doing. And I'm looking at your life right now and your life's in shambles. I don't want your life. So that's something that I'm not going to do. But if you're not in a sense of humility, if you're not looking to grow, then you're not going to recognize that. But that's my point whenever you can learn anything. But if you are defensive, if you're in fight or flight, like you're not even going to be able to read between the lines whenever it comes to that stuff. So that is something that takes some determination and intentionality on your part whenever it comes to like analyzing those situations and who you're getting feedback from. I will say that. All right. Open your ears and truly listen to the entire message they're trying to convey. Don't just listen to the parts that sound good to you. Again, someone's just like, man, let's go get effed up. I'd be like, wow, that sounds great. Instead of going, all right, who's the person giving me advice? Where are they at in life? Where are they at right now? What could I learn from this, right? Like, be very intentional when it comes to receiving feedback. Now, how do you do that? Well, take notes. Like right now in this meeting, right? I'll tell you guys right now. You want to know one of my biggest victories I've had all year? So whenever I first started doing meeting analyzations, I've done this for a couple companies now. It's fascinating. First time I did it, there was 2 out of 15 people taking notes. 2 out of 15. So you have an 1.5 to 2 hour meeting and everybody thinks that in that meeting, they're going to retain all the information without taking a single note. That was back in June. Yesterday at our meeting, 11 out of 15 people were taking notes. That's beautiful. That means people want to listen. They want to work together. That means people want to grow. Your brain, your limbic system can only contain so much information. And especially in an ADHD world to where we're all consumed with distraction, like taking notes is one of the best things you can do to actually allow whatever that sticky note is, that mental sticky note, to stick in an area, okay? So if you got feedback, if you've got a review, if you got a customer and they're giving you feedback, hey, do you mind if I take a couple notes real quick? I really want to hear what you're saying. It does two things. Number one, it tells the person that is giving you the feedback that what they're saying matters to you. Okay? That's going to make a statement itself. If you got someone that's expressing their emotions and like they're sitting there and they're like, hey, listen, like, I don't want to do this. I'm really apprehensive of doing a roof because of this, this, and this. Hey, let me pull out my notebook real quick. I want to write this down to make sure that we don't make these same mistakes. That's brilliant, Jerry. I've never done that. I've done that with other clients, but not like in a home setting. That's brilliant. That's really, really, really good, guys. Like, use that. That's good. Thank you. Because it's very easy to get emotional when someone is giving you insight. By taking a piece of paper out and writing down notes, you're removing your emotion and you're conveying it into logic. It's allowing you to process through the information. That's why I tell you guys to journal, because it engages 5 different parts of your brain that you don't engage if you're just sitting there and listening, or if you're just texting, okay? Like, scientifically proven. So by doing that, you are engaging yourself. If you take out a notepad and write your thoughts out to their feedback, it allows you to logically process the information, because that's what you're wanting to do. If people are giving you feedback, again, you got to be humble. You got to actually process through the information, allow your emotions to settle, and then you got to receive the information. Number 3, ask questions to expand on the feedback. If someone gives you feedback, if they take their time to try and help you solve a problem, even if it's the wrong answer, get questions during the feedback, right? Especially if they say something, dude, this one's hard. If they say something that you really, really, really don't like, it probably means there's a tinge of truth to it. So if you start feeling that feeling in your stomach, and we all know we're just like, oh, I'm going to shut this one off. Pay attention to that emotion, because that probably means that's an area you need to ask more questions on. This is one I struggle with all the time. Like yesterday, me and my dad did a one-on-one consulting thing. We got a retainer we're doing with this firm. And, it's been a long back and forth negotiation process. We finally got to the finality. We start next month. And we're sitting down, and I asked my dad for feedback. And he starts going into one area, and I'm like, don't really like that. But you know what happened is, last time we had a meeting with them, he gave me feedback and I listened and I wrote it down. This time, because I asked him for feedback and I listened to what hurt, this time I actually overcame what I messed up on in the last meeting. But if I had not asked him for feedback and asked him to expand on it, I would have never gotten better. So this meeting, I asked him what I could do better. He gave it to me. It hurt a little bit, but I know that that's going to prepare me for whatever next meeting I go into. That takes humility. That takes you actually looking to grow, because growth hurts. It's not fun, right, Andre? Whenever it comes to building muscles, you got to tear them in order for them to grow. So when receiving feedback, ask questions about how you can implement that feedback and if there's any other ways that you can improve. This tells that person they're valuable. It tells yourself you're valuable and you're not wasting your time, right? You got notes now, so you're engaged. It's a great way to actually receive feedback. Anybody have any thoughts on this? Repeat it back to them, right? It's good. Anybody else? Drew, what do you got? What are your thoughts on this? You played sports, right? Whenever you played sports, what was one of the key elements whenever it came to dealing with coaches? Be coachable. And there are times, I will say, there's times whenever, if you're the one giving feedback, you got to read the situation and understand when someone needs a fire and when they don't. But it's situational awareness. That takes time to actually develop that. So I would highly advise, unless you've been doing it for years, don't take that method unless you know the person really well and you understand who they are. You're in a position to where you can give it and they're going to receive it well, right? Nick Saban is probably best college football coach of all time, right? Nick Saban came in here, and I've never met him before, and he was observing something. He came up and started screaming at me. I might not like what he had to say, but I'm probably going to listen, even if I'm not a football coach, because he's got the history to back it up. That's, again, on the first slide why I said if you're the one giving the feedback, you sure better have the history to back it up, or else you're just going to diminish your ability to actually lead other people, because they're going to look at you and go, I watch what you do every day. I know it's not real. So don't give feedback unless you're actually taking action, because it doesn't work.